Good evening, and welcome to Cozy Sleep Time. Get comfortable and take a slow breath. Let your body relax more and more. Tonight's story is about the fireplace. Simply listen or let your mind drift. There is no need to focus. Let the quiet story begin. Tonight we explore the ancient history of fire, a story that begins long before humans walked the earth. Fire itself is far older than our species, but the controlled use of fire indoors represents one of the most significant turning points in human development. For most of our early history, fire was an outdoor phenomenon, encountered in lightning strikes and wildfires. The moment our ancestors first brought fire inside, sheltering it within a dedicated structure, they changed the course of human civilization. The earliest humans likely discovered fire through natural occurrences and learned to maintain it rather than create it from scratch. Keeping a fire alive was a constant effort, and losing it could mean death during cold winters. Archaeological evidence suggests Homo erectus may have used fire as early as 1.5 million years ago, though the first definitive evidence of controlled fire use dates to around 400,000 years ago. These early groups gathered around fires for warmth, protection, and cooking, establishing patterns that would persist for hundreds of thousands of years. The first significant step toward indoor fire came with the development of simple hearths. These were little more than fires built against a wall or in a central location within a dwelling, with some opening to allow smoke to escape. Ancient peoples in many cultures developed variations on this concept independently. The Greeks and Romans created hypocaust systems that heated homes from beneath, distributing warm air through channels in the floor and walls. The medieval period saw the development of the fireplace as we would recognize it today. Stone hearths with rudimentary chimneys became common in European homes, replacing the central hearth that had filled rooms with smoke. These early fireplaces were often inefficient, with most heat escaping up the chimney. The large fireplaces of medieval halls were more about status than heating efficiency, designed to accommodate whole animals roasting on spits. The Renaissance brought innovations to fireplace design. Italian craftsmen developed techniques that improved airflow and increased heat output. The fireplace began to move from the center of rooms to walls, becoming a more integrated part of architectural design. Decorative elements became more elaborate, with ornate mantels and surrounds reflecting the homeowner's taste. The colonial period in America saw the fireplace become the heart of the home. In the harsh winters of New England, the fireplace was not merely a source of comfort, but a matter of survival. Large stone or brick fireplaces dominated the main room, providing heat for cooking as well as warmth. The Industrial Revolution brought new materials that transformed fireplace design. Cast iron fireboxes allowed for smaller, more efficient fireplaces that produced more heat with less fuel. The damper was refined to control airflow and prevent warm air from escaping up the chimney when the fire was not burning. Throughout this history, the fireplace has served as more than just a heating device. It has been the gathering place for families, the center of social life, and a symbol of domesticity. Stories were told, meals were prepared, and warmth was shared around the fire. Understanding this history helps us appreciate why the fireplace holds such a special place, even now when central heating makes it unnecessary for pure functionality. We are connecting to a tradition that stretches back through countless generations. There is something deeply satisfying about the warmth of a fire, a sensation that goes beyond mere temperature. The heat from a fireplace feels different from the heat of a radiator, And there are scientific reasons for this difference that have made fireplaces enduring sources of comfort for thousands of years. Heat transfer occurs in three ways: conduction, convection, and radiation. A fireplace produces heat through all three, but radiation is the most significant to us. When we sit before a fire and feel its warmth, we are experiencing radiant heat, the same energy that reaches us from the sun. Radiant heat works by emitting infrared radiation from the flames and embers, traveling through the air without heating it, then warming objects it strikes. This is why we feel the heat immediately, even in a cold room. Conduction moves heat through solid objects. The metal grate and stones or bricks become warm through conduction, radiating some of that heat outward. The mantelpiece, if made of stone, can become pleasantly warm, radiating gentle heat even after the fire has died down. This lingering warmth is part of what makes a fireplace so comforting on cold evenings. Convection involves the movement of heated air. As the air directly above the fire heats up, it rises, creating currents that circulate warm air throughout the room. This is why the air near the fireplace becomes noticeably warmer, while corners might remain cool. The circulation gradually raises the overall temperature of the space. The color of a fire reveals information about its temperature. The hottest part near the base where the flame originates tends to be blue. The orange and yellow flames we typically see are cooler. The red and orange embers that remain after the flames die down radiate a gentle, sustained heat that can be particularly comfortable on a quiet evening. The combustion process that produces fireplace heat involves burning wood composed of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. When heated sufficiently, these elements combine with oxygen in a chemical reaction that releases energy as heat and light. Flames result from glowing particles of partially burned fuel, while embers are solid carbon continuing to oxidize. The efficiency of a fireplace depends on several factors. Modern designs capture more heat that would otherwise escape up the chimney. Inserts use a closed combustion system that extracts more heat before byproducts escape. Wood species also affect output. Dense hardwoods like oak and maple burn longer and hotter than softer woods like pine. Moisture content matters too. Green wood contains water that must be boiled off before combustion proceeds efficiently. The crackling sounds a fire makes have scientific explanations. As wood heats, water inside turns to steam and expands, causing the wood to crackle. Resin pockets can explode when heated, creating sharp pops. These sounds are part of what makes a fire so engaging. The psychological effects of fireplace heat go beyond the physical sensation. Studies have shown that the sound of crackling fire can lower blood pressure and reduce stress, effects amplified by the radiant warmth. Understanding the science helps us appreciate why this ancient technology continues to bring comfort. It is not merely nostalgia that draws us to fires, but fundamental responses humans have evolved to find deeply comforting. The fireplace occupies a unique place in human psychology, functioning as something more significant than a simple heating appliance. Throughout history and across cultures, the hearth has served as a symbol of home, family, and belonging. Understanding why the fireplace holds this place in our psychology reveals much about our fundamental need for warmth and connection. Humans are inherently social creatures, and the fireplace has served as a powerful social focal point. Before electricity, the evening fire was one of the few reliable ways to extend daylight into the dark hours. Families would gather around the fire to share meals, tell stories, and spend time together. This pattern repeated across countless generations, creating a deep association between firelight and family connection. The hypnotic quality of flames plays a significant role in the psychological appeal of fireplaces. Watching fire is intrinsically fascinating to humans, perhaps because fire represented such an important survival tool for our ancestors. The flickering flames and dancing light create a dynamic visual experience that holds our attention without requiring active engagement. This passive attention can be meditative and calming, allowing thoughts to drift and relaxation to deepen. The sound of crackling fire is uniquely soothing to the human nervous system. Research has shown that the sound of crackling fire can lower heart rate and blood pressure, reduce cortisol levels, and promote feelings of relaxation. This may be because the sound is similar to natural sounds like rain or rustling leaves, which humans evolved to find calming. The gentle pop and hiss of burning wood creates an auditory backdrop that signals safety and comfort. The warmth of a fire activates the thermoregulatory systems in our bodies, which have deep evolutionary connections to feelings of safety and contentment. When we are cold, our bodies produce stress hormones to maintain core temperature. When we become warm, those stress hormones decrease. This physiological response to warmth may explain why fires create such strong feelings of comfort and security. Fireplaces also create a sense of ritual and rhythm in daily life. The process of building a fire, tending it, and watching it burn follows a pattern that can become deeply satisfying. The evening fire becomes a transition between the activities of the day and the rest of night, a marker of time that helps structure our experience. In an increasingly digital world, the fireplace serves as an anchor to physical reality. The crackle of burning wood, the smell of smoke, the warmth on cold hands are sensory experiences that ground us. They provide a respite from the screen-based world that dominates modern life. The psychological benefits of fireplaces extend to social settings as well. People tend to have deeper conversations in rooms with fireplaces, and groups gather more closely around fires. The fireplace creates an intimate space within a larger room, drawing people together both literally and figuratively. Even when not burning, empty fireplaces hold psychological significance. An unlit fireplace carries associations with comfort and home that survive the absence of flame. The mantelpiece displays photographs and treasured objects, continuing its role as a focal point. The psychology of the hearth reveals something profound. We are creatures who need warmth, light, and connection, and the fireplace addresses all of these in one simple structure. The fireplace has evolved dramatically over the centuries, with each era bringing new innovations in design, efficiency, and aesthetics. From simple openings in walls to ornate architectural features, the fireplace reflects the technological capabilities and artistic sensibilities of each period. Tracing this evolution reveals how our relationship with fire in the home has changed over time. Medieval fireplaces were often large, gaping openings in exterior walls, frequently without proper chimneys. Smoke escaped through a central opening in the roof above the great hall. These massive hearths could accommodate whole animals roasting on spits, feeding hundreds of people in castle great halls. The design was more about function than beauty, though stone surrounds might feature carved decorative elements. The medieval hall fireplace was a statement of power and wealth. The Renaissance brought a new emphasis on the fireplace as an architectural feature. In Italy, elaborate fireplace surrounds were crafted from expensive marbles and decorated with classical motifs. These fireplaces were positioned as focal points in the most important rooms of homes and palaces. Craftsmen developed techniques that improved airflow and increased heat output, and the fireplace began to move from the center of rooms to walls. Georgian and colonial fireplace design in the 18th century emphasized symmetry and proportion. The fireplace became a central element in architectural design, with paired pilasters or columns supporting a mantel shelf. The Adam style in England and the Federal style in America both produced distinctive designs that remain influential. These fireplaces were more efficient than their predecessors, with narrower openings and deeper fireboxes that captured more heat. The Victorian era saw fireplace design become more elaborate than ever before. With industrialization, new materials became available, including cast iron, ceramic tiles, and various metal alloys. Fireplaces became status symbols, with elaborate tile surrounds depicting scenes from nature or history, colorful glazed tiles, intricate cast iron inserts, and carved wooden surrounds created some of the most visually rich fireplaces ever produced. The arts and crafts movement of the late 19th and early 20th centuries brought a reaction against Victorian excess. Fireplace designs became simpler, with an emphasis on honest materials and craftsmanship. Tiles were unglazed or matte, metals were hammered rather than cast, and designs drew inspiration from medieval and early colonial sources. The mid-20th century brought modernist design principles to fireplaces, often eliminating them entirely or enclosing them in sleek, minimalist structures. Mid-century modern fireplaces might be freestanding cylinders of metal or simple rectangular openings in white walls. The emphasis was on integration with overall architectural design. Contemporary fireplace design is remarkably diverse. Traditional designs with elaborate mantels and surrounds remain popular, but so do ultra-modern linear fireplaces that stretch across walls. Despite all these changes, the fundamental purpose and appeal of the fireplace has remained constant. Each era has adapted this ancient technology to its own purposes and aesthetics, but the result always serves the same deep human needs for warmth, light, and gathering. Beyond providing heat and serving as an architectural feature, the fireplace has traditionally functioned as the true center of domestic life. Understanding this historical role helps us appreciate why fireplaces continue to hold significance in modern homes, even when central heating makes them functionally unnecessary. The fireplace was never just about warmth, it was about life itself. The kitchen fire was historically where food was prepared. In many homes, the fireplace contained multiple cooking elements, including a crane for suspending pots, a bake oven for bread, and various hooks and trivets for different tasks. The fire was the kitchen's heart, and the woman of the house was often referred to as the keeper of the fire. Meals were planned around the fire's state, with the hottest flames used for boiling and dying embers for slow simmering. Light was another critical function served by the fireplace. Before electricity, the evening hours were lit primarily by flames from the hearth. Candles and oil lamps provided additional light, but the fireplace was the main source of illumination. The quality of light from a fire, warm and flickering, created an atmosphere entirely different from modern electric lighting. Activities were organized around this light source, with family members gathering to work, talk, and be together. The fireplace also served as the home's information center. News was shared, stories were told, and lessons were taught around the hearth. Children learned traditions and family history from elders. Neighbors gathered to exchange information. The hearth was where the private home connected to the wider world, a threshold between family life and the community beyond. Warmth and comfort were centered on the fireplace in ways that modern central heating cannot replicate. The fire provided localized heat that people could feel directly, moving closer when cold and retreating when warm. This physical proximity, forced by the need for warmth, also promoted the social closeness that characterized family life. People naturally drew closer together when gathered around a fire. The fireplace was also where difficult tasks were performed. Handicrafts that required heat, such as forging tools, making candles, or curing meats, were done at the hearth. The heat was not just for human comfort, but for human industry. The structure of homes often revolved around the fireplace, with the main chimney sometimes the only part of a house rising above the roof. The concept of the fireplace as home center extended to language and culture. The phrase hearth and home still carries connotations of domestic safety and comfort. In modern homes, while the fireplace may no longer serve all these practical functions, it often retains its symbolic importance. The mantelpiece displays family photographs. The family gathers to open presents and share meals. The old roles have evolved, but the fireplace continues to anchor domestic life in ways that connect us to our historical past. Throughout history and across cultures, the fireplace has been the focus of numerous rituals, traditions, and practices, reflecting the deep significance the hearth has held in human societies. The warmth of a fire connects us not only physically but culturally, binding families and communities through shared experience. New fire rituals have been important in many cultures. When a new home was occupied or a new fireplace was installed, it was often lit for the first time with ceremony. This might involve the head of household carrying fire into the home from the previous residence or from a neighbor's hearth. The first fire was a sign that the home was now inhabited and protected, a symbolic act of claiming a space as one's own. Yule logs were burned in midwinter celebrations across Europe, a tradition that has survived in various forms to the present day. The largest log possible was selected and burned throughout the 12 days of Christmas, with the ashes scattered on fields to ensure good harvests. In some traditions, a piece of the unburned log was saved to light next year's fire, creating continuity between years. The Yule log reminds us that fire has always been central to how we mark the turning of the seasons. The domestic fire was sometimes believed to have protective properties. In various cultures, fires were kept burning continuously for good luck, with the embers never allowed to die completely. Other traditions held that extinguishing a fire and relighting it was unlucky. The hearth fire was seen as the soul of the home, and its maintenance was a sacred duty. Cooking traditions centered on the fireplace created their own rituals. Certain foods were always prepared in the hearth, and specific holidays called for specific dishes. The Christmas pudding might be stirred by all family members, each one giving it a turn to bring good luck. The first bread baked in a new oven might be shared with neighbors, strengthening community bonds. Fireplace magic was practiced in various forms of folk tradition. People would jump over bonfires at midsummer to bring good luck. Children might be passed through smoke for purification or health. Fire was believed to have the power to burn away bad fortune. Even the simple act of throwing salt into a fire was thought to ward off evil spirits. The modern tradition of gathering around the fireplace during holidays continues these ancient patterns. Christmas morning, families still gather to open presents by the fire. Thanksgiving dinners are often served near the fireplace if possible. The fireplace creates a focal point for togetherness that mirrors historical practices, even if we no longer remember their origins. Even the simple act of building a fire contains echoes of ritual. The arrangement of kindling, the placement of larger logs, the control of airflow are skills passed through generations. The warmth that reaches our faces today is the same warmth that comforted countless generations before us. And tending the fire is a quiet act of continuity across time. As our story ends, let the quiet ideas settle softly. Your body can continue to relax, breathing slow and steady. If sleep is near, let it arrive naturally. Thank you for spending this moment here on Cozy Sleep Time. Return anytime for another peaceful journey. Good night.